Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome back to the D1 Audible Cheat Sheets. This episode and the next will cover chapter 15 in the textbook. There's a moment in every cellar when the drama is over. Fermentation is done, messy, messy work, malolactic has either happened or been prevented. The wine is no longer becoming in that energetic way. And yet, if you're studying D1, this is where you learn a slightly uncomfortable truth. A wine can be beautifully grown and beautifully fermented and still get ruined right before it meets the world. Because finishing isn't glamour, it's discipline. It's the winemaker asking one final question: when this bottle leaves my hands, will it still be clean, stable, clear, and true 6 months from now, after heat, vibration, oxygen, shipping delays, and supermarket lighting? Most wineries, most of the time, are aiming for clarity and stability. Not because haze is always harmful, but because the market reads it as a fault. And because instability can turn into real quality problems once the wine is packaged, out of your control, and sitting somewhere you'll never see. Let's start with clarification, because that word is deceptively simple. Clarification is everything we do to remove suspended matter so the wine looks clean and behaves predictably. Some producers let time do the work. Sedimentation happens naturally when wine rests in a cool cellar. Particles settle, a sediment forms. You rack the clean wine off the solids. This approach can feel almost philosophical. It's patient, it's minimal, it's also expensive in a very specific way. The wine can't be sold until it's ready. So, natural sedimentation tends to make the most sense when the wine is already destined for time, like barrel aged premium wines. Some winemakers also believe it protects texture and flavor better than aggressive interventions. That's an important D1 nuance. Sometimes less processing is a stylistic and quality choice, not a lack of capability. But if you're running a high volume operation, time is not neutral. Time is money tied up in tanks. Time is storage space. Time is labor. That's why large wineries accelerate clarification. Centrifugation is one of the blunt, brilliant tools of scale. It spins wine at high speed and separates out solids quickly. It's expensive equipment, but if you're processing serious volume, it can replace slower filtration steps and let you bottle earlier. Think of it as an industry efficiency that protects commercial viability. Then we have fining, which is where finishing starts to feel like chemistry with consequences. Fining agents don't filter wine, they bind with unstable compounds and pull them out of suspension so the wine can be racked or filtered cleanly. And the distinction level point here is this: fining is always a balance between solving a problem and not stripping the wine of what makes it itself. That's why good producers trial fining in the lab first. They use the minimum effective dose because overfining doesn't just risk removing texture and flavor, it can actually make the wine unstable again or create new issues. In white and rosé wines, the headline instability is protein haze. These grape derived proteins can clump together, especially when the wine warms in transit, and suddenly the consumer sees cloudiness that looks like something has gone wrong. Bentonite, a clay, is the workhorse solution. It adsorbs those unstable proteins and helps prevent that haze. Bentonite is generally low impact sensorially, but it does create sediment and therefore the wine loss when you rack. Again, quality and cost are always in conversation. In red wines, tannins naturally bind many proteins and help them precipitate out, which is one reason protein haze is less of a concern. but reds often use fining for tannin management. Egg white is a classic for high quality reds because it can soften harsh tannins while being relatively gentle. Gelatin can also reduce bitterness and astringency, but it's easy to overfine with gelatin and strip the wine. Casein helps with browning in whites. Isinglass can make whites brilliantly bright. Vegetable proteins exist for vegetarian and vegan positioning. PVPP is the quiet problem solver for oxidized whites, removing browning and some astringency. Charcoal is the emergency tool that can remove color and off odors, but it's risky because it can remove the soul of a wine if you're not careful. Sometimes the smarter move is to treat only a portion and blend back. From fining, we move to filtration, which is not one thing but a family of tools. And in D1, you're expected to understand why a producer chooses a certain filtration method based on particle load, desired stability, oxygen risk, and cost. Depth filtration is designed to trap particles throughout the thickness of a filter medium. It copes with cloudy wine, wine with lees, wine with lots of solids. It's practical. It doesn't block as easily, but it's not absolute, which means under pressure or overuse, tiny particles can slip through. Diatomaceous earth filtration is the classic example. It's effective, relatively low per liter cost once set up, but disposal is a cost and a responsibility. Rotary vacuum filtration is oxidative because it exposes the wine to air, while enclosed systems can be protected with inert gas. Sheet filters are another depth approach, scalable and effective, but they require a robust frame and trained operation. Surface filtration is closer to an absolute gatekeeper. Membrane filters catch particles bigger than the pore size and are used right before bottling to ensure microbiological stability, and especially where residual sugar is present. They are slower and can block easily, which is why wines are usually pre filtered first. Cross flow filtration is a modern powerhouse. It filters while self cleaning the membrane surface, handles high particle loads fast, and avoids consumables like sheets or diatomaceous earth. But the machine cost is high, so it shows up in bigger or better funded wineries. Now we cross into stabilization, which is not about clarity alone. Stabilization is about preventing surprises later. Hazes, crystals, re-fermentation, browning, the sort of thing that makes a consumer distrust the wine even if it's harmless. Protein stability comes back here. Bentonite is the main tool. Tartrate stability is another big one. Tartrate crystals are harmless, but many consumers think they're glass, so wineries often prevent them. Cold stabilization is the traditional method done deliberately. Hold wine around minus 4 degrees Celsius for about 8 days to force potassium bitartrate to crystallize before bottling, then filter it out. It's energy intensive and you need colloids removed first, or crystallization can be inhibited. It also doesn't solve calcium tartrate. The contact process speeds crystallization by adding potassium bitartrate as seed crystals and chilling around 0 degrees Celsius for a short period and then filtering. Electrodialysis uses charged membranes to remove ions. High initial investment, lower energy, and faster operation, and it removes both potassium and calcium ions. Ion exchange replaces potassium and calcium with hydrogen or sodium ions. The sodium angle makes it controversial and illegal in some territories. CMC, derived from cellulose, prevents crystals from growing to visible size and is common for inexpensive whites, but it's not suitable for reds. I'm going to repeat that. Apologies for the delay. CMC, derived from cellulose, prevents crystals from growing to visible size and is common for inexpensive whites, but it's not suitable for reds because it interacts with tannins and can create haze. Metatartaric acid can prevent crystal growth but loses effectiveness over time, especially at warm storage temperatures. So it suits wine meant for early drinking. Microbiological stability is where finishing becomes existential for wines, especially with residual sugar. If there's sugar and yeast remains, the bottle can become a tiny fermentation vessel. Sterile filtration is the clean solution. Sorbic acid and SO2 can inhibit yeast growth, but sorbic acid can be detectable at low levels and is less favored now. If malolactic conversion hasn't completed and bacteria remain, MLF can start in bottle, creating cloudiness. The solution is either complete MLF or remove bacteria by filtration. Brettanomyces is the haunting organism of cellars, especially where wood is involved. Filtration can remove it, DMDC can inactivate it. But prevention is always better. Hygiene, effective SO2, and keeping pH low, plus reducing the window between alcoholic fermentation and MLF so you can protect the wine sooner. And so that's part A of this chapter, the quiet engineering of finish. It's not glamorous, but it's foundational. Because a clear, stable wine is not a marketing phrase, it's a promise that the wine will behave in the real world. In our next episode, 15B, we'll step into the bottling line itself and talk about what happens when wine meets oxygen, packaging formats, closures, post bottle aging, and the quality systems that protect a brand from one bad run. I hope this helps with your prep, and I'll see you at the next episode.